Hello everyone. So in today's video we are going to go over this paper titled Style Transformer Unpaired Text Style Transfer Without Disentangled Latent Representation. So this paper is by Ning Dai, Jianzi Liang, Jipeng Hu, Zhuanjing Huang. So if I pronounce those wrongly, please forgive me. I'm really sorry about that. So the primary reason why I'm going over this paper is because this is related to some of the work which I am interested in. So hopefully I'll also learn some stuff while explaining it as I read this along. So I have read a few pages, not the entire paper currently, but hopefully this time we'll read it together. So the abstract. Disentangling the content and style in the latent space is prevalent in unpaired textile transfer. However, two major issues exist in most of the current neural models. It is difficult to completely strip the style information from the semantics. The RNN-based encoder and decoder mediated by the latent representation cannot well deal with the issue of long-term dependency resulting in poor preservation of non-stylistic semantic content. Alright, so maybe we have a whiteboard here. So basically this time around I just recently updated to Windows 11, so there might be some new messages. So basically the problem is textile transfer. So textile transfer is basically taking a sentence and converting it to another sentence. Suppose let's first discuss this in the context of images. So for instance, you have a painter P1 and he can draw paintings and he has a style S1. And suppose you have a painter P2 and he has a style of drawing S2. Now suppose you tell painter P1 to draw a tiger. You'd also want the same tiger to be represented or drawn as how P2 would draw it. So when P1 draws this tiger would have two things. It would have content and it would have a style. So the style would be the style which the painter had. So this style would be S1, but the content would be same, right? So if there's a tiger facing, say, a tree, then the content needs to remain the same when anybody draws it, but the style changes depending on the painter. So the style transfer problem is basically taking this content and replacing the style. So instead of S1, you somehow do some transfer and this becomes S2. And so since the content is the same, when these two club together, this should look like how painter P2 would have painted it. So this is in the context of images. In the context of text, this could be something like, suppose you have a sentence which is humorous. So let's say call this sentence I1. So these are just random variables I am giving them. And you have another sentence I2 which is sarcastic. So now both of these sentences, let me just get some space for me. Right. So both of these sentences will also have a content. Suppose this sentence is delivering a news that some team won some competition. So some team won, say, some coding competition. So it would have a news to deliver. So that would be the content. And it would have, say, a style of reporting news. Suppose it reports it in a positive way or say in a humorous way. Suppose the source I2 also reports the same content, but this is a more, say, pessimistic source. So this has a negative sounding article, or this might be saying, okay, they won, but what about next time, or how are they practicing? I don't think they are practicing enough, etc., etc. So all of these both of these are delivering the same content but the tone sounds different. So the problem is basically to when you have this part keeping the content same, you need to change it into this. So it should the output should seem like it was generated by this other source, and it should resemble what the other source would produce. So this is essentially the problem of textile transfer. So the style could be many different things here. All right. And so the problems, it is difficult to completely strip the information from the semantics of a sentence. So suppose you have a sentence, how do you really uh, rem- like draw the line between the content and the style, right? Very often you might see the problem here, right? So for instance, if someone is delivering a news in a humorous fashion, then that humor is embedded in the sentence. It is very difficult to get just the content or tell the machine to just get the content and let the style stay. That would be very difficult. And similarly, it's difficult to even quantify what the style is or what the content is. The second problem is that they cannot deal well with large long-term dependencies. So it results in poor preservation of non-stylistic semantic content. So non-stylistic semantic content is basically the C here. So the problem they're saying is, suppose this sentence C is a huge article. So it has tons of lines, right? So suppose this word here is providing insight into some sentence here. That is difficult to retain. It is difficult to teach the model to use this part of the sentence somewhere here. The model is not able to produce these long range dependencies. So that is the second problem which they have reported. So in this paper, we proposed a style transformer which makes no assumptions about the latent representation of source sentence and equips the power of attention mechanism in transformers to preserve better style transfer and better content preservation. So basically what they're saying is, I hope you're familiar with transformers. So transformers are basically networks where you have this attention mechanism. So let me get some visual for those. Transformer mechanism. Oh, uh, NLP. So let's just see if we have an example somewhere. Yes. So if you had a simple model, if you had a simple RNN, the dependencies would be mapped something like this. So this would then map to is, which would map to a, which would map to sentence. So over time, this link between this and sentence weakens. While in transformers, each word has a link to the other word and there are weights. So how much is the word sentence dependent on the word this? That would be relatively high, right? Because the word sentence is being that particular sentence is being referred to by this. So this weight would be higher compared to say some other word where uh, the is not as strong. And no assumptions about the latent representation is basically there is no assumption about how the sentences would be there. So it would not have a fixed style it will not have a fixed uh, like a fixed format for a particular style basically. So the textile transfer is one, it's a task of changing the stylistic properties, example sentiment of the text while retaining the style independent content within the context. Since the definition of the text style is vague, it is difficult to construct paired sentences with the same content and differing styles. Therefore, the studies of textile transfer focus on the unpaired transfer. Basically, what they're saying is, it is difficult. Like textile is a way is vague, right? Because even how I explained it, it might seem that it is very subjective from person to person. Someone might say this is a particular style, while someone else might say something else. So it is difficult to construct paired sentences. So in the real world, you won't find as many data sets or as large data sets which have pairs for different styles. So the same sentence in say 10 different styles. So the studies involve unpaired transfer. So basically, you do not have a target here. So recently, neural networks have become the dominant methods in textile transfer. Most of the previous works formulate the style transfer problem into the encoder-decoder framework. The encoder maps the text into a style-independent latent representation, and the decoder generates a new text with the same content but a different style from the disentangled latent representation plus a style variable. So this might take a lot to take in, but this is, to be honest, really easy. So basically what they're saying is, let me get some space here. Right. So suppose you have a sentence S. First you pass it through an encoder. I should have brought my tab out. And you get a vector. This vector is the latent space representation of the sentence. Then you pass it through a decoder. Let me just call it D. And you also give it a style. Suppose it had a style earlier. Suppose the sentence was S0 and it had a style of S and the content C, S1 and C. Let me call this ST1 so that it does not cause any confusion. Then you give it a style ST2, the style it needs to now take up. So the sentence S1 should ideally have content C and the style ST2. So that is basically what the problem is, and this is how it is being dealt with. The encoder gets you this representation, and the better quality this representation is, the more information is preserved and the easier it is for the subsequent flow to generate good quality transfers. These methods focus on how to disentangle the content and style in the latent space. The latent representation needs better preserve the meaning of the text while reducing its stylistic properties. Due to lacking paired sentence, and adversarial loss is used in the latent space to discourage encoding style information in the latent representation. Although the disentangled latent representation brings better interpretability, in this paper we address the following concerns for these models. So an adversarial loss is something which is used in GANs, which are generative adversarial networks. So this paper was one of the founding papers for GANs. If not the founding paper, I'm not really sure. Let me just see if we have a good visual for adversarial loss. Um, I don't think so, but as far as I remember, like this is a formula, but it would not make any sense without uh, without having some example. So as far as I remember, further down in the paper, they have some uh, description. So let's just wait. So it is difficult to judge the quality of disentanglement, right? So it is subjective. Someone might say, "Oh, the humor has been completely taken out," while someone might say, "Oh, no, the humor still remains." The style information can be still recovered from the latent representation, even the model has trained adversarially. Therefore, it is not easy to disentangle the stylistic properties from semantics of a text. So basically, this paper showed that even from this latent representation, which was trained using all those adversarial losses, the authors were still able to find out some style information. Disentanglement is also not necessary. So in this paper, they reported that a good decoder can generate the text with the desired style from an entangled representation by overwriting the original style. So basically what they're saying is, let's just forget about totally removing the style, because as we can see, it is not happening. So what about overwriting the style? The style remains there, but it is overwritten by this style st2 to have this new style. That should also work in theory because you're overwriting the style, preserving the content, and the new style is the target style. And in the third concern is, due to limited capacity of vector representation, the latent representation is hard to capture the rich semantic information, especially for the long text. So this vector will have a fixed size, is what they're trying to say. You cannot capture, say, a 10,000 words and paragraph from it. The recent progress of neural machine translations also proves that it is hard to recover the target sentence from the latent representation without referring to the original sentence. So this is another roadblock. Fourth, to disentangle the content and style information in the latent space, all the existing approaches have to assume the input sentence is encoded by a fixed size latent vector. As a result, these approaches cannot directly apply the attention mechanism to enhance the ability to preserve the network in the the information in the input sentence. So basically what they're saying is, uh, in the existing models, the input sentence has a fixed size latent vector, so it is not able to utilize the power of attention mechanism completely. And most of the models approach RNNs, which have weak long range dependencies. So besides, without referring the original sentence, RNN based decoder is also faces hard to preserve the content. So that is why they were saying that the original sentence is being used, because as shown in this video, in this photo, if you are say 20 words down the line, then it is difficult to remember what was there in the start. So in this paper we address the above concerns different from them. So they propose the style transformer, which takes the transformer as the basic block. Transformer is a fully connected self-attention neural architecture which has achieved many exciting results on NLP, such as machine translation, language modeling, text classification, etc. Different from RNNs, transformers use stacked self-attention and point-wise fully connected layers for both the encoder and decoder. Moreover, transformers decoders fetch the information from the encoder part via an attention mechanism compared to a fixed size vector used by RNNs. So, as you can see, they are addressing all these issues. And transformers, with the strong ability of transformer, our model can transfer better. So essentially their contributions are, they are giving a new novel training algorithm which makes no assumption about the disentangled representation, and thus the model can employ attention mechanisms to the best of their knowledge. This is the first work where transformers have been applied to style transfer tasks, and experimental results show that a proposed approach generally outperforms other approaches on two style transfer datasets. Specifically to content preservation, Style Transformer achieves the best performance with significant improvement. So let's just dive into it. Firstly, the related works. So many works have been done. Among these approaches, there is a line of work aimed to infer a latent representation for the input sentence and manipulate the style of the generated sentence based on the learned latent representation. So Shen et al. Propose a cross-aligned autoencoder with adversarial training to learn a shared latent content distribution and a separated latent style distribution. In another paper, Hu et al. Propose a new neural generative model which combines variational autoencoders and holistic attribute discriminators for the effective imposition of semantic structure. So I'm not really familiar with these things. I know variational autoencoders, but I'm not very familiar with what holistic attribute discriminators are. I believe there would be some sort of modification on top of the normal discriminators which we have in generative adversarial networks, but I'm not really sure about what exactly they differ in. So, following their works, many works have been done. Although learning a latent representation will make the model more interpretable and easy to manipulate, the model which is assumed a fixed size latent representation cannot utilize the information from the source sentence anymore. On the other hand, there are some approaches without manipulating latent representation which are proposed. So in this method, they propose a cycled reinforcement learning method for unpaired sentiment to sentiment translation. Lee et al. Propose a three-stage method. The model first extracts the content words by deleting phrases, a strong attribute value, then retrieves new phrases associated with a target attribute, and finally uses a neural model to combine these into final output. In Lampel et al.'s work, they reduced text style transfer to unsupervised machine translation problem. So you can see how they might be modeling this part. This seems pretty intuitive. They employ denoising autoencoders and back translation to build a translation style between different styles. However, both lines of the previous model make few attempts to utilize the attention mechanism, and in many NLP tasks, especially for text generation, attention mechanism has been proved to be an essential technique to capture long-range dependencies. So in this paper, we follow the second line of work and propose a novel method which makes no assumption, and they use transformers. Alright. So let's have a look at what the style transformer is exactly. So to make a discussion, yeah. So the problem formulation. So in this paper, we defined a style transfer problem as follows. So they have a bunch of data sets. Di is equal to 1 to k. So each dataset Di is composed of many natural language sentences. For all of the sentences in a single dataset, they share some specific characteristics. So they are all suppose positive reviews or negative reviews and so on. And we refer to these shared characteristics as the style of the sentences. Okay. So in other words, a style is defined by the distribution of a data set. Suppose we find k different data sets, then we can define k different styles, and they are referring to them as S subscript I. So the style of dataset I. The goal of style transfer is that given an arbitrary natural language sentence X and a desired style S, which is in one of the styles which they have seen, they need to rewrite this sentence to a new one X bar X cap, which has the style S cap. So this style basically, and preserve the information as much as possible. So I guess this problem is quite self-explanatory. Like we've already, this is like almost similar to, this is similar to what we've discussed here. Actually, this is the same problem. I did not know you could do that. So sorry about that. Yeah. So the model overview: to tackle the style transfer problem we defined above, our goal is to learn a mapping function. So the function takes a sentence and a style control variable, and the output is the sentence, transferred sentence with respect to the input sentence. So a big challenge in the textile transfer is that we have no access to the parallel corpora. Thus, we can't directly obtain supervision to train our transfer model. So you don't have two parallel modes. So you don't have the same review as positive or negative and so on, because it makes sense, right? The one person who's writing a positive review would, of course, not write a negative review as well and have the same complaints or the same praises. So a big challenge is that they have no parallel corpora, thus they cannot obtain direct supervision. And so in section 3.4, which is just here, they employ two discriminator-based approaches to create supervision from non-parallel corpora. So non-parallel corpora is basically something where you do not have target labels. Let's see if you have some. Uh, yeah, so you do not have any parallel sentences. But I guess, yeah, what I don't even know what they would be showing here. So let's just see. Finally, we combine the style transformer network and discriminator network via an overall learning algorithm to train our style transfer. So this is the one of the three components, the style transformer network. So generally, transformers follow the standard encoder-decoder architecture. Explicitly for an input X, which has these tokens, the transformer encoder takes this and maps it into a sequence of continuous representations Z. So this is the basically encoder output. This is the encoded sentence, and then the transformer decoder takes this sentence and estimates the conditional probability for the sentence y1, y2, all the way to yn by autoaggressively factorize it as. So basically, you have the probability of a sentence y given a sentence x, right, and that is equal to the probability of, say, a token yt. So you iterate over all the tokens given z, and then you have all the tokens also. So basically, for each token generation you use this entire representation and all the words which you have discovered before it. So if this seems a bit hard, let me just show you an example. Suppose the sentence is, I'll just pull up a text pad, that would be easier. No, I need, no, I don't need this. Has the name changed or something? Yeah. So suppose the sentence is, I am a boy. So this is not a style transfer example which I'm giving, but I'm just explaining what this formula is basically saying. So suppose now you get a vector representation v1, v2, v3, v4. Suppose it is z1, z2, z3, z4, z5. And now you are, suppose you have already predicted, suppose the translation is something like abc, xyz, uvw, So you have already predicted these first three tokens, and now you want to predict this final token. So what all information will you be using? So at this stage, what the formula is basically saying, to predict the final token, you will be using this information, which is the vector z, and all these previously discovered tokens. So the token, let's say this is token 4, right? So you'll be using token 3, token 2, and token 1. Suppose you are predicting token 3, then here you would have token 3, and you cannot use token 3 to predict token 3. You will be using only this stuff. Suppose you are predicting token 2, then you will only use up to token 1. And suppose you are predicting token 1, then since nothing has been generated so far, then you will solely be using this z. And for each token you will get the probability and you will multiply all of them. So this pi is just repeated multiplication. And at each time step t, the probability of the next token is computed by a softmax classifier. So you take this, and this is the softmax of the logit vector outputted by the decoder network. So the decoder network is outputting a vector, this part, and then you take a softmax on it. So basically the vector would be associating a probability to each word, and a softmax just scales them basically between 0 to 1. So a softmax basically has this curve, it lies between 0 to 1, so it will scale them between 0 to 1. So the probabilities, suppose they are like this, then they would be converted to probabilities between 0 and 1. And logit vector, let's see if we have a proper, no. So basically the logit vector is the decoder network's output, and that would be basically each index in the vector. So basically if you have this vector, so suppose you have 4 entries, so this entry would be, say, predicting that the next word is, say, w1, this would say this is w2, w3, or w4, and all of these values will be the probability for each of these vectors. And so the model will then say, suppose this vector has a probability of 0.7, and this is the highest, of course. So this, the model will say this word should be the next output. Okay, so to enable style control in the standard transformer framework, we add an extra style embedding as input to the transformer encoder. So basically what they're saying is, this was simply the transformer network, how transformers work. So to enable the style control thing, what makes it different from the standard transformer is they are adding a style component. So in the original transformer you only had the input sentence and some encoder stuff, but now you also have the style. So therefore the network can compute the probability of the output condition both on the input sentence x and the style control variable s. So now the input y is given the input sentence x as well as given a particular style. So the predicted output is now a function of two variables. Earlier it was just a function of one variable. Right. So this is, I hope this is clear now. I tried my best to explain. If there are still any doubts, just leave a comment. I'll try to explain again. The discriminator network. So this is the second stage. So we had these three things: the transformer network, discriminator network, and the overall learning algorithm. So suppose we use X and S to denote the sentence and its style from a dataset D. Because of the absence of the parallel corpora, we cannot directly obtain the supervision for the case this. So you do not have a target directly, where S is not S prime. So you do not have another sentence which has the same content X, which has the same sentence X in another style. So therefore we introduce a discriminator network to learn this supervision from the non-parallel corpora. So the intuition behind the training of a discriminator is based on the assumption below. As we mentioned above, we only have the supervision for this case. So in this case, because of the input sentence X and the chosen style S are both from the same dataset D, one of the optimum solutions is to reproduce the input sentence. So this is a very clever technique. When I read about this for the first time, I was smiling a lot because this seemed very ingenious. Thus, we can train a network to reconstruct the input in this case. So in this case, you have a sentence where S is not S dash. So we construct supervision from two ways. So for content preservation, you have to have the same content. The network reconstructs the original sentence when they feed it the transferred sentence to the style transformer with the original style. And say, I'll explain this. And for the style controlling, we train a discriminated network to assess the style transformer to better control the style of the generated sentence. So in short, the discriminated network is another transformer encoder, which learns to distinguish the style of different sentences. And the style transformer network receives style supervision from the discriminator to achieve the goal. We experiment with two different discriminator architecture. So first, if we understand this part, then it would be easy to see why which one was used. So basically, what they're saying is how are they going to do the task? Suppose they have a sentence X and a style S. Then firstly they are going to do the entire process and get a sentence Y which has the style S bar. Then they are going to do the entire process again. So basically what they say here is they reconstruct the original sentence when they feed the target generated sentence. So they called it Y hat. I'm just calling it Y. If you want, I'll call it Y hat. And they try to generate the original sentence X from it. So basically, you can see that this X now should be as close to this X as possible. So what they're trying to do is minimize this loss. So and this should make sense, right? Suppose you have a sentence, you have a humorous sentence, and your model is asked to convert it into a sad sentence. It does it, but now you ask it to convert back to humorous, then it should ideally convert it to the original sentence. But since this is a predicting task, it is not really possible. So it will try to do the next best thing, which is predict as close to it as possible. So I think this is now clear. And the discriminated network is essentially a network which learns to classify sentences. So you have this network, it's trained so with a bunch of data. So you give a sentence to it and it will predict, okay, this has a style SX. So this is used in this stage in the transformer to enforce that the correct style is there in the output. So now you have two uh, discriminator architectures which they experimented with. So you have the conditional discriminator which makes decision on an input style. So explicitly a sentence X and a proposal style S are fed into the discriminator, and the discriminator is asked to answer whether the input sentence has the corresponding style. So in discriminator training stage, the real sentence from dataset X and the reconstructed sentence Y are labeled as positive and the transferred sentence are labeled as negative. So basically what they're saying is in this stage, they give the transformer that they give the discriminator a sentence X and say, okay, is this the style for X? And these are the positive labels. And so this is given to the model during the training stage. And also since the discriminators continuously learn in a game fashion, they also get the Y sentence as a positive label. So the sentence which the model produced for another style, but they get negative label also from the same Y where they say that this is not the style which it has. So they say that S is not its style, S cap is its style. So I guess this part is now clear. You also have the multi-class discriminator. So different from the previous one, in this case only one sentence is fed and a discriminator aims to answer the style of the sentence. So in the k plus 1 classes, the discriminator tries to find which class it has. The first k class represents the different styles and the last class stands for the generated data from this transformer, which is also often referred as fake sample. So in discriminated training stage, we label the real sentence X and the reconstructed sentence Y to the label of the corresponding style, and for the transferred sentence is labeled as the class 0. So in style transformer network learning stage, we train this model to maximize the probability of the class which stands for the real style. So basically, let's just break this down sentence by sentence. So the first K classes are the K different styles which we had. So these come from again uh, these K datasets. Where did that part go? You have these K datasets, so you have K different styles for each of those K datasets, and the last this one comes from the fake style. So in discriminated training stage, we label the real sentences X and the reconstructed sentences Y to the label of the corresponding style. So they say that the real sentence X has the class of the dataset it came from, and Y has the class of the dataset which we intended to now lie in. And the transferred sentence Y bar, where S is not S cap, is labeled as the class 0. So this is the fake sample. In style transformer network learning, they train the network to maximize the probability of the class which is stand for style, which stands for this style. So it should predict the correct style. So if we use this image, I guess it would be easier to explain. You have a sentence X, the style transformer generates a sentence Y. Now you use this S, the style, and the discriminator to enforce uh, that the label is correct. So the discriminator predicts that this model has this sentence output sentence at this style, and does it match with the style which we intended it to have. If it does, then it's good. If it does not, then the model learns, and this all happens in a cyclic fashion. So as I've explained here, the training process, the input sentence X and style S is fed. The input S is the same as the style of the sentence X. Generated sentence Y will be trained to reconstruct X. So we saw that part here, which I had explained, this part. And otherwise, the generated sentence Y will be fed into a transformer, and the discriminator defined to reconstruct input sentence X from the style respectively. And now we have a look at the learning algorithm. So you have learning algorithms for each of the stages. So I'll pause here for a bit, and I'll restart recording in a few minutes, in some time. So sorry about the pause, and as you can see, the time is very different now. So let's just continue. We had stopped here, and now let's continue from learning algorithm. So in this section we will discuss how to train these two networks. So which two networks? The style transformer network and the discriminator network, right? So this would be in two parts. You will train the discriminator and you will train the style transformer. So for the discriminator first. So loosely speaking, in the discriminator training stage, we train our discriminator to distinguish between the real sentence and the reconstructed sentence. So I'll just open up the whiteboard again. So we were here and we had seen these reconstructed sentences here. So the discriminator trains over this part. I'll just circle it. So this part. So this the reconstructed sentence is the sentence where you put the output sentence and give the style from the original sentence and try to get the original sentence back. The loss function for the discriminator is simply the cross entropy loss of the classification problem. So essentially this is a classification problem, right? You are trying to classify a sentence into its correct style. So for the conditional discriminator, you have both the sentence and the style, and you predict a particular output C based on the input sentence and style. As for the multi-class discriminator, you only provide the sentence in the input, as we had seen here, here and here. So you can see here you had two parameters, the proposal style S and the sentence X. So according to the difference of discriminator architecture, there is a different protocol for how to label these sentences, and the details can be found in algorithm 1. Alright, so let's just break down algorithm 1. So you have a style transformer, which is f of, which is this function. You have a discriminator and a data set with style S. So sample a mini batch of m sentences from DI. So this is, let's just I'll draw this part here first. Let, or I'll just go down and scale it back. Yeah, right. So you remember we had all these data sets. So D1 all the way up to DK. So from this you have chosen one dataset DI. So this is the part here DI, and you know that this dataset DI has style S. So from this you sample M sentences, a mini batch of M sentences. So in this dataset you will have some sentences which have this style, right? So from these some sentences you sample M sentences. So there will be more sentences, but you've taken only M sentences and you label them as X1 all the way up to XM. For each sentence in this, now first you pick up say X1, then X2 all the way up to XM. You randomly sample a style. So you randomly take up a style. Then you use this this transformer network to create a new sentence of that style. So you have randomly sampled a style and you've generated two sentences, one with the style and one with the original style and one with the sampled style. So if d5 is the conditional discriminator, okay, so now they're saying that once you've generated these two sentences based on the discriminator you have, so if you have a conditional discriminator, you will do this, else you will do this. So for conditional discriminator, you will label x comma s, so the original sentence had style s as positive, and you label y comma s also as positive because you have generated y by giving the input x and the original style s. So these will be a true label 1. While suppose you have the input x and the other style which was randomly sampled and was not equal to the original style, and you also have the reconstructed sentence and the later style, then you label them as 0. So this is for the conditional discriminator. For the multi-class discriminator, you will just label x comma y as I, so, and this as 0. I'm not sure if this was supposed to be I guess this was supposed to be 1, but I'm not sure. But and then you'll just compute these by using equation 4 and equation 5. So you'll use uh, this loss function for the conditional discriminator and the other one for the multi-class discriminator, and you'll do this for each of the sentences. So, and it's not like at every iteration you will have a different discriminator. The discriminator will be fixed, so either all the iterations will go into this one or into this one. Now let's have a look at how the transformer is trained. So the training of the style transformer is developed according to different cases of you give the input x and the style s hat, where s is equal to s hat or s is not equal to s hat. So you have these two cases. So one method of training is self reconstruction. So for the case s is equal to s hat, or equivalently the case f of f theta xs, so it wouldn't matter because s hat is now s. So as we discussed before, the input sentence x and the input style s comes from the same dataset, so we can simply train our style transformer to reconstruct the sentence by minimizing negative log likelihood. So basically you would ask the transformer to generate the same sentence, and then you'll try to minimize the distance between the sentences. So basically you have a sentence, then with a particular style S, your aim is again to generate another sentence which preserves the content and also keeps the same style. So obviously the model will create the sentence, so it will not directly return the original sentence, but uh, the model should return a sentence which is very close to the original sentence. So you can use the negative log likelihood for the loss function here. For the case S is not equal to S cap, we can't obtain direct supervision from our training set. So we introduce two different training laws to create supervision indirectly. So basically what they're saying is you cannot directly get a, a label from which you will compare, right? So basically here what you were doing is you were giving your input uh, sentence and input style and to the transformer, which where the style was the same as the style of this input X. So in theory there should be no change, but of course since this is an algorithm, it will again create the sentence, so there will be some changes, but the change should be minimized. So that is why you could simply use the negative log likelihood. But in case this style is different, then you do not have this y label directly, then you will use these two techniques. One is cycle reconstruction and one is style controlling. So first, let's look at cycle reconstruction. To encourage generated sentences preserving the information in the input sentence X, you generate a sentence Y cap hat which takes the input X and another style S hat, and it gives to the style transformer, and the style transformer then recreates the original sentence. So basically what happened, you had this Y hat which was sentence X in another style S cap. Then you give this sentence and you give a target style S. So this essentially means you had first converted X to Y hat. Now you're again trying to convert Y hat back to the original style of X, because this is the style of X. So this should be as close to X as possible, or the original sentence as possible, and that is why this is a cyclic loss. So I hope you're able to realize this is essentially what I had shown you here. This part, uh, this sentence is being moved about. Uh, this you're trying to essentially generate this x and minimize the distance between these two. Of course, this x would not be the same as this x. This x is some xg, which is a generated x, and you are trying to minimize the negative log likelihood. So this is one way. So this ensures preserving information in the input sentence. You also have style controlling. So if we only train our style transformer to reconstruct the input sentence X from the transferred sentence, the network can only learn to copy the input to the output. To handle this degeneration problem, we further add a style controlling loss for a generated sentence. So basically what they're saying is, if you train the style transformer to reconstruct the input sentence X, which was being done here from the transferred sentence, the network can only learn to copy the input to the output. So the network, if you're only using this, then at some point the network will realize, oh, they want me to minimize the distance. It will try to minimize the distance from the original sentence, and that would not be the intent. Our intent is for the model to learn how to transfer between styles, not to learn to directly copy the input to the output. So to handle this problem, they add a style controlling loss for the generated sentence. So a network generated sentence y hat is fed into the discriminator to maximize the probability of the style s hat. So basically this sentence which was generated here, this should have the style s hat. So the discriminator tries to the discriminator predicts the style of y hat, and it should, the aim is the discriminator uses gives a high probability of y hat having style s hat. In the case of conditional discriminator, since in the multi-class discriminator you only require the sentence, in conditional discriminator you also require the style. The style transformer aims to minimize the negative log likelihood of class 1 when fed to the discriminator with label s hat. So class 1 is essentially this, where you see, right, you have x comma s here. So basically, when you convert a set x to another style s hat and then convert it back, then uh, the label should be 1, and uh, that is what they're doing essentially, I guess, right? So, and in this case, oh sorry, what they're saying is you have this sentence y hat and you have this label s hat. This is the expected label for y hat, so it should be true. And in the case of multi-class discriminator, the style transformer is trained to minimize the negative log likelihood of the corresponding class of style s hat. So you give an input sentence and it tries to predict the class. So for an input sentence with style s hat, the class should also be predicted to be s hat, and that is this algorithm again. So you again pick up sentences, generate the two sentences, one with the same style, one with the different style. Then you compute the different losses. So you have a self loss, which is this one, you have a cyclic loss, which was this one, and then you have the style loss. Using one of these, depending on which discriminator you choose. So I hope this part is clear now. Let's move to summarization and discussion. So finally, we can construct a final training algorithm based on the discriminated learning and style transformer learning steps similar to training process of GANs. In each iteration, we perform ND steps discriminated learning to get a better discriminator, and then a style transformer NF steps to improve its performance. The training performance is summarized in algorithm 3, training process, sorry. So I guess this is algorithm 3. Before finishing this section, we finally discuss a problem which we face while training. Because of the discrete nature of natural language for the sentences, y hat is equal to f. Okay, so when you use the style transformer to change x to s hat, you can't directly propagate gradients from the discriminator through the discrete samples. To handle this problem, one can use reinforce or Gumbel softmax trick to establish gradients from estimate gradients from the discriminator. However, these two approaches are faced with high variance problem, which will make the model hard to converge. In our experiment, we also observed that the Gumbel softmax trick would slow down the model converging and didn't bring much performance improvement to the model. For the reasons above, empirically we view the softmax distribution generated by f theta as a soft generated sentence and feed the distribution to the downstream network to keep the continuity of the whole training process. When this approximation is used, we also switch our decoder network from greedy decoding to continuous decoding, which is to say at every time step, instead of feed the token that has maximum probability in previous prediction step, we feed the whole softmax distribution to the network, and the decoder uses the distribution to compute a weighted average embedding from embedding matrix for the input. Okay, so this was a lot to take in, but let's just break this down step by step. So this is just combining both of these parts. For each data set, you you do the labeling, then you perform gradient descent to update d5. D5 here is the discriminator, and for nth NF steps, you get the data set, you check the losses, and then you perform gradient descent for the transformer. And you keep repeating this again and again till the network converges. So this is the training algorithm. This is pretty straightforward. But what they're discussing here is sentences are discrete. So for the generated sentence, you can't directly propagate gradients from the discriminator through the direct discrete samples. I'm not really sure what the problem here is. Let's just try to break it. Because of the discrete nature of the natural language, we can't directly propagate gradients from the discriminator through the discrete samples. So to handle this problem, we use reinforce or the Gumbel softmax trick to estimate gradients from the discriminator. However, these two approaches are faced with high variance. Okay, so from the solution, what they've done is essentially instead of just giving one token, suppose you had a softmax distribution. What this saying is, suppose this was a distribution and this word has the highest probability, so you give this out. Instead of that, they converted this entire distribution into a vector and gave this. How did they give this? This is described here. So uh, they took the distribution generated by the style transformer and fed this distribution instead of a particular token predicted by the transformer. So when this approximation is used, they switch to continuous decoding. So at every time step, instead of feed the token that has maximum probability, so instead of just this token, they feed in the entire distribution. So they feed the whole softmax distribution, and the decoder uses this distribution to compute a weighted average, and you uses that further instead of just using one token. So I guess this is how they solve the problem of discreteness which they were facing here, getting one token at a time. So for the data sets, I'm not going to look at the data set descriptions because we already you can all look this stuff up and the video is already getting pretty long. But just as a basic like just for formality, these two data sets have positive and negative reviews. This is the sites, this is the a training set, this is a dev set, and this is a test set, and this is the average length of the review. So for evaluation, the goal is that the transferred sentence should be fluent and content complete with one target style. So basically, they're going to take a positive to a negative or a negative to a positive. So they use style control. So how do they measure this stuff? So to measure style control automatically by evaluating the target sentiment accuracy of transferred sentence. So basically, now they have positive and negative things. This is a classic sentiment classifier case. So they trained a sentiment classifier. So for style checking, all they did was if they converted a positive to a negative sentence, then the classifier should report that transferred sentence to be negative, and that is what they checked. For content preservation, they calculate the blue score between the transferred sentence using NLTK. A blue score is a metric, you can look that up. It indicates the transferred what's happening indicates the transferred sentences can achieve better content preservation by retaining more words from the source sentence. If a human reference is available, we will calculate the blue score between the transferred sentence and the corresponding reference as well. So they do two blue scores. So in some cases where they have a human reference, they create another blue score, which is the ref blue. Fluency is measured by the perplexity of the transferred sentence, and we trained a 5-gram language model using KNLM. So they measured this fluency parameter as well. Then they finally had human evaluation. So due to lack of parallel data, they wanted human evaluation. So they randomly selected 100 sentences, and for each sentence, the reviewer had which sentence has the most opposite sentiment towards the source sentence. So they had to choose the best sentence for style control, content preservation, fluency. Which sentence retains most content and which is most fluent. And to avoid interference from similar or same generated sentences, no preference is also an option. Alright. So training details. In all of the experiments for the encoder, decoder, and discriminator, they use 4-layer transformers with 4 attention heads. Uh, this is the hidden size, etc. I guess you can read this up. So they use embedding matrix as well, and the position embedding isn't used for the style token. For the discriminator, they add a CLS token, and this is all standard stuff how discriminators and transformers are trained. So I'm not delving into that part. The main crux of this paper was this part, which was the novel stuff which they done. So in this experiment, we also found that performing random word dropout can help uh, model more easily to converge. All right. So on the other hand, by adding a temperature parameter to the softmax and using a sophisticated temperature decay schedule, it can also help the model. All right. So results using automatic metrics are presented, and for human metrics, we choose two of the most well-performed models: delete and retrieve and control gen, and the generated output from multi-class discriminator model is used for as our final model. So we have performed over 400 uh, human evaluations, and now this is the review. So on the Yelp set, you can see they've significantly outperformed everything else. And even on the IMDb set, they are very close in style, and they just blow the roof for content and fluency. So you can see this why this paper has is a good read, because apart from the novel techniques, they've also gained huge points. So for the ablation study, to study what the different components did. They changed the loss per function. They retrained the parameters. After we disable self-construction loss, our model failed. Okay. When we don't use cycle reconstruction loss, it's also possible to train the model, and both of the two models converge. And comparing to the full model, there is small improvement in style accuracy but a significant drop in blue score. As expected, the cycle reconstruction loss is able to encourage the model to preserve the information. So at last, when the discriminator loss is not used, the model quickly degenerates to a model which is only copying the input sentence to output without any style modification. This behavior also conforms with our intuition. If the model is only asked to minimize the self-construction loss and cycle reconstruction loss, directly copying input is one of the optimum solutions which is easiest to achieve. In summary, each of these losses plays an important role. The self-reconstruction loss guides the model to generate readable natural language sentences. The cycle reconstruction loss encourages the model to preserve the information in the source sentence. And the discriminator provides self-supervision to help the model control the style of generated sentences. So basically, this is uh, all the different components and the uses. In another study, in algorithm 1, we used a mixture of real sentence X and generated sentence Y as the positive training example for the discriminator. By contrast, in the ablation study, we trained our model with only one of them. So without by removing one of these, as the result shows, the generated sentence is a key component in discriminator training. When we remove the real sentence, our model can also achieve a competitive result. However, if they remove the generative sentence, they will use significant part of the ability and get bad performance. However, the model can still perform a style control far better than the input copy model discussed in the previous part. For the reasons why we use a mixture of real sample and generated sample in the final version. So let's just see. The input is everything and is fresh and so delicious. And theirs is everything is overcooked and so cold. This is pretty good, to be honest. I would totally see this being said by a human. These two women are amateur, these two women are professional. A fantastic place to see a show, as every seat is a great seat. Disgusting place to see a show, as every seat is a terrible seat. Alright, so you can see that these are quite good. The food's okay, the service is among the worst, the food selection service among the best. Yeah, right. So this is pretty impressive. Conclusion and future work. In this paper, we propose a style transfer a transformer with a novel training algorithm for textile transfer. Experimental results on two textile transfer datasets have been shown, and so on. So in the future, we are planning to adapt a style transformer to a multi-attribute setting. On the other hand, the back translation technique can also be adapted to the training process of style transformer. How to combine the back translation is a good direction to approach, and they'd like to thank the reviewers. So overall, this was a pretty interesting paper to read, and see you guys the next time. Thank you for joining in. As always, if you have any comments, etc., do drop them. Do like, share, and subscribe. Also, this was probably the first time I've completely read the paper. I had read to about I guess the modeling part, but not the entire paper. So it was a good read with you guys. So thank you.